Oh my God, it's noon here on the East Coast, 9 Pacific time, and this is news that you can use from YAA for, well, Tuesday, June 21st, with your hosts, Zach and Ray. How the hell are you today, handsome?
The bubble.
Oh my God, Bubble Boy is back. You send them to Portugal, and they still come back in a bubble.
Dad, did you see the data from Cox Automotive? You know me. I love me some good old Cox data, man. Let's jump.
I know you do. Yeah.
I know you know that I do.
Yeah.
We both
Yeah.
know that I do. Dad,
Yes.
was it this one? Give me a second. No, it was this one. Look at this, folks.
What am I looking at?
Look at this, folks.
Yeah.
The average listing price for used vehicles.
Yeah. Dipped.
In May.
Yeah, dipped, buddy.
You dipped? Here, hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Dipped. Synonym. Plummet. Okay, see, it says plummet there. That's a synonym.
Yeah. Okay, so, or crashed.
Crashed. To $28,312 compared to the prior month. Dad, was $28,372. I'm doing it again. I did it yesterday.
Let me say this. I get a bigger dip at Custard's Last Stand, okay, than the dip you're talking about in used car asking prices. For goodness sake. Yeah.
All right. So is this a sign?
No, the crash is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared. Wear your safety helmets. There's going to be this huge crash.
Dip. It's going to be a dip.
It could plummet for all I know.
Pops, when was the last time you talked to your dear friend Chip, who obviously is doing all the buying? Was it a couple weeks ago?
Actually, I think Chip called me on Saturday.
Okay, what's the read in the room? What's the lay of the land from the dealership perspective when it comes to used cars?
Yeah, they're not selling quite as well as they had been. They're still having to pay too much in comparison to what they really should be worth. They're willing to accept lower profit margins on them so that they can give the F&I departments an opportunity to make the money in the back end. And as far as on the new car side of things, just about everything is pre-sold before it arrives at the dealership. And at their BMW stores, they're selling more, and there appears to be no shortage of BMWs at the moment for them.
Interesting, really.
And they are selling them at the highest profit levels they ever have.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe.
But you know what he didn't mention to me?
What's that, Pops?
He didn't mention the word crash. He said there might have been a small dip.
You know, honestly, the Cox Automotive didn't they do a dealer sentiment study a couple weeks ago? And didn't dealers say they're starting to get a little more concerned about what's happening?
Well, I think there were 2 or 3 articles that you sent me this morning in regards to this, and the aspect of it that really caught my attention more so than the crash, the plummet, the dip, was the rather substantial decline in consumer sentiment. That dropped like 12 or 14% from the prior month. So that indicates to me that consumers are feeling the pinch. They're starting to get very concerned. And when they start pulling back, that's when you see things really, they can get ugly. When consumers know that they should spend money, but don't, or want to spend money but choose not to, for the retail sector, that's an ugly turn of events.
Yep, and it's right here. I pulled it up on the screen. The initial June reading on consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan declined 14% to 50.2, which was a record low for the index. Consumers' views of both current conditions and future expectations declined substantially, and the expected inflation rate increased to the highest level since 2008. Consumers' views of buying conditions for vehicles declined to the lowest reading in the history of the survey, dating back to 1978. The daily index of consumer sentiment from Morning Consult also declined in the first half of June. As of June 15th, the index was down 5.1% compared to May 31st, and was at a new low for the index. So yes, that all corroborates what you're saying, Pops.
That to me is a more telling statement than the fact that used car asking prices have dropped on average $60.
72.
Okay. No, they dropped 60. Go back to that first paragraph.
Justice did the math by the dip, man. They're down $72.
Okay, $72. Whatever.
I'll pull it back up, but let's take a peek.
Yeah, let me see. Take a peek. Pull it back up for me.
Let's see. It was $28,312 to $28,372. Okay, Pops is right.
That would be down $60. Okay. So
Justice, I went out on a limb there for you.
He is recovering from illness, so his brain probably is. I have those brain farts all the time when we do math quickly on the show. But I think the major drop in consumer sentiment means so much more than a small decline in the average asking price of used cars. I think when you combine the two, there really could be, in your terms, a drop. A crash. The bubble could pop. But I think the consumer sentiment portion of it weighs more heavily in my mind than that minor dip in the cost of the cars.
And then another factor, obviously, is the financing cost for folks. I mean, we talked about it a bit yesterday on the show. It was, who was it? Who was the data from where they included the financing cost? So the average new car transaction price last month was something like $46,000, $47,000.
It was $45,000 and change, and then with all the interest charges and everything, it was up over $55,000. And I forget who that information was from off the top of my head.
And so when you start to factor that in, especially with a rising federal funds rate, which ultimately is going to increase interest rates for vehicles, for auto loans, I mean, that just makes it even more expensive.
Yes.
The likelihood that the real cost of buying a used car goes down anytime soon is impossible. So let's say the consumer demand completely goes away. Well, prices are still going to be inflated because they've gone up 50, 60% over the past 18 months.
Yes.
Let's say prices go down just a little bit. Your financing cost is going to increase because now the loan that you're buying it on is got a higher interest rate.
Exactly. So I think we will see, if inflation continues at the rate that it's been at, or even if it slows down slightly, with rising interest rates and everything, I think you will see more and more consumers pulling back on major purchases. And so if that translates into a crash or a popping of the bubble, so be it. I think we'll see something along those lines. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen. You're going to have to excuse me for a moment. I will be back.
All right, we'll remove Pops from the screen. Wow, I come back and I'm already flying solo. Okay, Phil shared something in the chat here that I think is super interesting. It's the LendingTree auto debt statistics. Let's pull it up on the screen. Let's look at it together because I think it also speaks volumes to what's going on in the market right now. So this was from much earlier this year, just March of this year. Let's see. Average car payments have gone up. We know that. Double-digit increases in vehicle prices. We know that. Auto loan debt is the third largest debt category behind mortgages and student loans. We know that. $60 billion in new auto loans. Where is anything about delinquencies? Oh, wow. the term. We're up to 70 months. Oh, delinquency rates continue to drop. So this was from back in March, and it's interesting. Lending Tree telling us that delinquency rates are down. We looked at the delinquency rates the other day from TransUnion data, and that actually shared a slightly different story. So it brings the question back to, when does any of this actually change? And that's what One Way Up was asking here. What are the true signs of a bubble pop? Yeah, I'm not qualified to answer that question. I don't even know if anyone knows, but likely new car production. When that finally comes back, you'll ultimately see used car prices start to go back down. All right, we're going to go to the chat here while we're waiting for Pops to come back. Igor in the chat saying more and more people are now paying markups over MSRP. My old dealer group conducted a study, and results show that people paid $500 more in May than they did in April, and for June it went up to $600. It's very difficult to have this conversation by myself. But Igor, that's super interesting and honestly super disappointing. Wish we would see more and more pushback against the additional dealer markups. Let's see here. David says, could the car price crash kill some dealers and even OEMs? Unfortunately, everyone's making record profits, so I don't really see how it's going to kill anyone. Maybe there's going to be more pressure on the Carvana and Vrooms of the world as they're holding more and more expensive inventory, and if there's going to be more consumer demand and they're paying increased finance charges, maybe you'll see some dealer groups like them maybe get in a little bit of trouble, but that would be the only one that goes through my mind. Yeah, Neil's got it spot on. Used car supply will not increase until new car supply increases. Prices will stay higher until then. Completely agree. Let's see here. Yep, used car data shows. Oh, Pops is back, but do we even bring him on the show? I don't know. I'm kind of having fun by myself, but we'll bring him back.
Sorry about that, handsome. It's the last time I listen to my doctor when he tells me to add more fiber to my diet. Jesus.
Okay. All right.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Suddenly we've switched sides.
We have. Okay. So one of the questions we had was, what are some of the true signs that the bubbles popped? And Neil said it here in the chat. Used car supply will not increase until new car supply increases. I think that's still the same. The issue is, will people ever go back? Yeah,
but having said that, sorry, Neil. Sorry, everybody. So you look at days to turn and average length of time it's taking for these cars. It's going up slightly. So I know that used cars, the amount of used cars is holding somewhat steady. Might even be a little flat. I think it was 2.47 million in dealer inventories.
Yep.
I think we will see an increase next month in the amount of
inventory levels
for the pre-owned side of things. I wouldn't be surprised if that number's at 2.55 million or somewhere in that range.
Really? And you just think that's because vehicles are sitting?
I think it's because vehicles are sitting. Consumer sentiment suggests that people are taking themselves out of the market. Having spoken to Chip, they're seeing the demand side go down on the used cars, and they have been for the past couple months. New car demand has remained strong for them. Used car demand has declined. And I think with an average transaction price of over $28,000 on a pre-owned car, that is significantly higher than what it's been in the past. And also what you have to take into consideration is that reflects an overvaluation to begin with, because the amount of depreciation on used cars has been minimal, if any, the past 2 years. So all those things I think are conspiring to keep people out of the market, and we'll see used car inventories rise. And if that happens, then you'll probably see a continued lowering in asking prices.
Yeah, it is interesting. We don't have the latest Black Book data quite yet. I'll share my screen. It should be coming out later today. But even last week's data.
Actually, it'll come out tomorrow because yesterday was a holiday.
Okay, makes sense. So we'll cover it on tomorrow's show. But even just
Yes.
looking at last week's data, I mean, you are still seeing the impacts broken down by type of vehicle, right? Like, I mean,
Yes.
compact cars in the wholesale market skyrocketed, whereas, let me go to it, full-size crossovers and SUVs plummeted. And so
Yes.
I think a lot of this conjecture is still also tied to the type of vehicle that it is. Because as you're saying what you're saying, I'm thinking to myself, what's going to happen to trade-in values? What's going to happen if I need to sell my car? And I think a lot of that will still be predicated on, hey, if you've got a compact or subcompact fuel-efficient vehicle, the price of that's not going to go down. I haven't looked at it yet today, but let's do it together. I mean, what are gas prices at?
Yeah, I haven't looked today either.
Here, okay,
So
$5 a gallon.
okay, well they've actually gone down
Yeah,
about 4 cents or 3.5 cents from the high point. For about 4 cents a gallon from the high point. I think the high point
yeah,
was 5.01.
yep,
Um,
yep.
so we've seen gas prices tick down slightly. I don't think you've seen them tick down enough to where people are going to go, yeah, sure, $5 a gallon, that's reasonable. No,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't I
and
don't see that happening.
I've been talking to a bunch of people. I mean, people of varying degrees of wealth. Everyone's talking about gas prices. I was talking to a friend who's out in California. They pulled up to the gas station. Person right before him, $140 to fill up. Like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I let me share something interesting with you that I did this morning. I received a a survey from Strategic Visions, who do surveys for automobile manufacturers, in
Okay.
particular Mini, um, and the survey got really deep into certain areas, and they're trying to figure out the future. And so for future purchases, would you consider gas? Would you consider hybrid, gas electric, hybrid plug-in uh, electric, full electric, um, fuel
Yeah,
cell, or something? I mean, so they're trying to determine what the future is. And realistically, when you think about it, all the manufacturers are trying to dictate what the future will be based on all the announcements that they come out with about the amount of dollars that they've committed to um, uh, electric vehicles moving forward. But
yeah.
it was really interesting in that a large part of the survey was based on the type of fuel the vehicle ran on, as to how that would impact buying in the future for you.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised that if you see EVs that people bought or hybrids that people bought this year at super inflated prices, still selling for more as used cars 2 years from now. Because what indication do we have that things are going to get, any better anytime soon? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer by any stretch, just trying to be realistic about it. Gas prices are still going to be high. People are still going to want more affordable vehicles, probably more than ever. They're going to want affordable vehicles, especially as the recession, whether we're in one right now or it's impending,
Well,
comes
I
comes
know
closer.
one of the manufacturers that I said I would have a future interest in was
Yeah.
Fisker. And the reason I said Fisker is because the Fisker Ocean electric vehicle, which comes in the upper 30s. Okay. Um, Whether or not they'll actually be able to deliver cars in the upper 30s is a question that nobody necessarily has an answer to.
Yeah.
And I saw yesterday one of the comments for the show was, well, wait till the world changes when Tesla comes out with their $25,000 electric vehicle. And and I thought to myself, well, yeah, the world really has changed because they came out with their $39,000 one that's now over 50,000. So
Yeah.
what's the likelihood that they would actually be able to produce and sell an electric vehicle in the $25,000 price range? I don't think it's
Unlikely.
very likely. Yes, I don't think it's very likely. Not with the
Pops,
cost, not with the cost of raw materials.
let's switch gears here. Evidently, AutoTrader is doing a new ad campaign on automotive news. Look at that ad up at the top.
Wow.
That if so, folks playing along at home, why did
Yeah.
YAA build a car search functionality? Because AutoTrader advertises to their customers who are dealers get 20%, 24%
24.
higher gross profit per deal with Accelerate My Deal digital retailing. the call to action button is get solid leads. If you are not searching for cars on joinyaa.com and you're using all the normal players like AutoTrader, you're missing out, because all those products, all they're existing to do is to make more money for dealers. We don't make a dime from dealers. So please, like, just that's a pretty damning example of how they advertise.
Yes. And what we're about to discuss, the F&I profit per car at the big public groups, these numbers are staggering. And I can tell you that, having spent as much time in retail automotive as I have, typically the second highest paid employees in a dealership, general manager being the highest paid. And you would think sales managers or general sales managers would be like the second highest. No, it's F&I managers. And with what we're seeing here, these F&I managers must be making $300,000-$400,000 a year based on the way that their pay plans are typically structured. These numbers are staggering.
When folks give us a hard time about the fact that we sell an extended warranty product, it is simply so that you have an alternative to the one that they're selling you at the dealership, because the average gross profit, not revenue, gross profit per vehicle retailed at the major auto dealers nationwide is north of $2,500 for some of them, for Sonic and for AutoNation. That means F&I, finance and insurance, that's the interest, the points that they're holding on your loan, so making money on the interest rate of your loan, and selling you the ancillary products, the gap insurance, the extended warranty, the tire and wheel protection, the key coverage. I wish we had the whole suite. I wish we could easily sell you any of those things at a flat and understood profit margin, because we don't make $2,500 when we sell something. Jeez Louise.
If you look at the breakdown for each group and you go into the detail section of it, most of them have said a lot of the increase is due to the sale of extended warranties. The markup in extended warranties at these dealer groups is astronomical, okay? Where we make $500 if and when somebody buys one from us. And we're not saying you should or you shouldn't, okay? But where we make $500, their asking price at these dealer groups probably has, I don't know, $2,500 of profit built into it, so they can then discount it down and still sell it and make $1,500 or $2,000 every time they sell one. So the fact that we can save people as much money as we can if they want similar or like coverage on an extended warranty is truly beneficial to the consumers out there. And I know that there are people that hate us because, well, we sell products that you can buy at a dealership and we have the nerve to make money on them. Well, we turn around and we reinvest every dollar that comes in. And as we talked about nonprofits last week, and I said, unfortunately, we're one of them, because we ain't making one at this point. We can't provide the level of information and tools that we do without having some income coming in to support that.
So let's just take a peek at this, Dad. Gross profit levels, and I put the link in the chat. It's, if you want to get a quote, it's free. There's no email address, no phone number, no spam phone calls or anything like that. joinyaa.com/extended-warranty. California supposedly is online next week. I don't know. I'm just waiting on one thing from Assurant, who's the ultimate underwriter. Been very frustrating going through the process with them. If you want more information on that, let me know. Maybe we can make a video on it. Gross profit, Dad. F&I gross profit. It's just through the roof. AutoNations went up 21% year over year. Sonics went up 26%. Group 1s went up 30%. Asbury Automotive went up 36%. Lithia 28%. Penske's up 27%. The big takeaway here is, as a car buyer, if you are buying something from AutoNation, which, let me pull one up because they're all over our community forum. Let me find an AutoNation deal that we can peek at here. If you're buying a car from them, just understand that even when you negotiate with them, they're going to, on average, on the back end, they're make $2,600.
Almost
Feel confident
$2,700.
negotiating.
Yes.
You should feel very confident negotiating with them. You should not feel bad about negotiating with them. There's a lot of meat in that deal for them.
I will tell you that a lot of the AutoNation stores at this point, believe it or not, when it comes to the new car, they are not charging over MSRP at a lot of the stores, and they are not adding at a number of their stores any additional
all right, Pops. I gotta pull up an AutoNation. This is AutoNation Honda of O'Hare.
Okay.
This is on a new car.
Okay.
$900 for an appearance protection, so that's F&I. Wheel locks $100, window tint $400, windshield protection $800.
And this is obviously one of the AutoNation stores that doesn't operate on it. I mean, where I got my Mini, they're not adding anything to the cars, and they're not adding anything above MSRP. And at a lot of their East Coast stores are not doing that. Now, it's not the same all over the country because, their general managers get paid off of net profit in most cases. And so they're looking for ways to create net profit, and pay plans always dictate how dealerships operate. That's all I can tell you.
Pops, let's switch gears here. It's been a while since we've done it. Let me hit the button.
Really? You gotta be kidding me.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. We have two stories. One is a surprise. I received this email from Aaron. Okay, Pops, I'm going to read this out to you.
Yeah.
He said, Zach, I could use some advice. I purchased a new 2022 F-150 from a dealership in Dallas, Texas on April 30th because they said the delivery was scheduled to occur on 5/6/2022, May 6th. It's almost 2 months and the truck is still not moved. They kept giving me new dates every couple of days. On June 6th, when I went to the dealership to talk to the manager, I was informed it actually now shows as, quote, plant hold and missing component with no definite time on completion. I told the dealership that's bad because my first loan payment was due on the 14th, and they don't even know when the truck will be completed. They cut me a check for the amount of the first payment to reimburse me. After some tug of war, they let me drive one of their other trucks, a lower trim, as a loaner. I'm worried that my credit union would not like the fact that I have a truck, that I don't have the truck they have a lien on. What are your thoughts? I feel it's bad. I have the truck financed and we have no idea when it'll actually be done. Have you ever in your career heard of anything like this? And what is your advice to Aaron?
I have never heard of anything like that. Why would anybody, and Aaron, I'm sorry, but why would you sign the paperwork and the loan documents and essentially take delivery of a vehicle that you couldn't take delivery of, that wasn't even at the dealership? So I don't know. I don't know how they could possibly do it. I mean, part of the loan documents is they have to agree to provide the credit union with a lien on the title, and the title has to be issued in your name. Well, how can they issue a title on a vehicle that's not even there yet? Maybe they have the certificate of origin from the manufacturer. What I would do if it were me, just thinking off the top of my head, I would go to the dealer and say, I've got a great idea. Since there is no truck, how about you pay off the loan at my credit union and we start fresh when a truck comes in? Okay, that's one way to do it. That to me makes the most sense. Now, the only good thing about this is if he keeps this particular loan in place and he keeps having the dealership make the payments, well, then he'll actually end up, and he won't start making the payments until he actually physically takes delivery of the truck. Then whatever the loan term was will be reduced in his case for what was paid for by the dealership. That might make sense. But I don't see how the credit union would feel good about having a lien on a truck that in essence doesn't really exist. If if Aaron didn't make the payments, what are they repossessing?
Yeah. It's like truly. That's why this is really got to be kidding. Not to knock on Aaron. Aaron's here with us on the stream, and Aaron, we want to support as best we can. This is a really got to be kidding me, because how do you make payments on something that doesn't exist? How does the paperwork go through? How does the dealership do that? Like, there's so many questions.
Yes.
Although Neil's right. He'll beat the rise in interest rates.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. The warranty clock, if he's purchased the vehicle, and I'm thinking, okay, the dealership would have done this so they could report the truck sold. Well, if they report the truck sold, okay, even though they don't have possession, that would normally start the warranty clock. So the warranty's running on this thing. None of this makes any sense. I think everybody would be best served if they bought out the loan, they admitted to the credit union the truck doesn't exist yet. I mean, it's built, but it's not at the dealership. We haven't physically taken possession of it so that we can physically deliver it to Aaron. And if and when the truck ever does come in, hey, then let's do the new loan then.
That's just my thinking.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Man. That's one I've never heard of.
Yeah, when Aaron sent me the email, I was like, I'm gonna have to get my dad's take on this. I got no clue. I didn't realize that you could even get the paperwork approved. I guess they have a VIN for the vehicle and it's just sitting there. It sounds like the
VIN is assigned the moment the truck goes into production. Okay. The certificate of origin is printed up once the VIN has been assigned. But the certificate of origin normally doesn't arrive. Dealers typically get invoiced for the vehicle a few days prior to the vehicle actually arriving at the dealership. And that's when the dealership should also be receiving the certificate of origin, which that is in essence a title that says the vehicle was built. It's owned by X dealership at the moment. Okay. So I don't see how they could have ever completed paperwork with the state so that they could get a real title, that they could have a lien against it for the credit union. The credit union would, if they knew this, the credit union would be beside themselves. Your insurance company is insuring a vehicle that doesn't exist, that isn't driven. Is the Chevy dealer reimbursing you for your monthly insurance expense? None of this makes any sense. Get out of this deal as quickly as you can. That's my advice.
Aaron, you got to keep us posted on this. This is going to be something we follow up on later this week and next week. Neither of us have ever heard of this. First time in our community. It's also a great realization why we're never going to go away.
Yeah,
there's always something new. You always need an advocate. You always need someone in your corner, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous, this one, Aaron. Sorry that you're in that situation. I wonder, though, Dad, the motivation for the dealership to have done this was to RDR a unit early? Retail delivery reported?
Why? Yeah. Why? What difference does it make? You're selling every damn vehicle that comes in. It's not like they're sitting around. So, and it's not like there's, as far as I know, it's not like there's any real manufacturer to dealer incentives right now, because the manufacturer knows they can't provide the dealers with enough cars for them to hit increased sales objectives. So none of this makes any sense.
All right, you'll have to tune in later this week. I'm sure we'll have an update on it. Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate it. All right, Pops, let's call it a show.
Okay.
We will be back tomorrow. We'll have the updated Black Book data tomorrow, which will be exciting. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's fun being back. I miss this, Dad. I missed hanging out with you.
Well, and it's my only opportunity to see you on a daily basis. So, and I missed hanging out with you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. All right, guys. See everyone tomorrow.
Yep. We'll be back here tomorrow at noon with more news that you can use. That'll be noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
And yes, my dad is quite tan right now. Indeed.
I'm working on it, baby.